Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. Thanks for checking out this video. If you value the content that's published here, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Now there's a lot of people talking about Jared Kushner, all the drama surrounding the White House. The rumblings about him being the Antichrist is not surprising, given all the things that surround this guy. Now in some ways, he is already an Antichrist. And I say that because there's a basic premise and a warning. In 1 John 2, starting at verse 18, here's what it says. Children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, so now many Antichrists have come. Therefore we know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have continued with us, but they went out that it might become plain that they all are not of us. But you have been anointed by the Holy One, and you all have knowledge. I write to you not because you do not know the truth, but because you know it, and because no lie is of the truth. Who is the liar, but he who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This is the Antichrist, he who denies the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever confesses the Son has the Father. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. If what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son and in the Father. And this is the promise that he made to us, eternal life. John emphasizes a couple things here. First, that there are many antichrists, and that they went out from us, but they were not of us. Who could they be talking about? And we can know who the liar is because he denies that Jesus is the Christ. This is the Antichrist. And notice it says he who denies the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Who denies the Son but says has the Father? Those of the Judaic faith. The fact of the matter is, and this is uncomfortable to say, but it's reality, Judaism is Antichrist because it denies Jesus and claims to be of the Father. And the more I look at this topic and the more I look at Bible prophecy, the more I see and I understand why martyrdom will take place. Now, Jared Kushner is reported to be a Hasidic Jew. And back in November 5th, 2016, Breitbart reported Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner visit Lubavitcher Rabbi's grave. And it says here, Kushner visited the Ohel, the Brooklyn gravesite of the venerated Lubavitcher Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And it says Schneerson was the seventh and final rabbi in the Lubavitch line of Hasidic Jews and achieved worldwide fame and respect that persists today, even as his Chabad religion movement continues to expand. Now, they have promoted the 7 Noahide laws as universal moral principles, which you can look at here, and the one that's most concerning with this one is number 7, maintain justice. Justice is God's business, but we are given the charge to lay down necessary laws and enforce them whenever we can. When we right the wrongs of society, we are acting as partners in the act of sustaining the creation. And who is Menachem Mendel Schneerson? Well, he's one of the most influential Jewish leaders of the 20th century. He's considered the pioneer of Jewish outreach. And in 1978, the U.S. Congress asked President Carter to designate Schneerson's birthday as the National Education Day USA. But there's more to his belief systems. According to the Jewish Virtual Library, in a section about Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, it states, quote, with the fall of communism and the miracles during the Gulf War, the rabbi stated that these are heralding a time of peace and tranquility for all mankind, the time of Moshiach, or Messiah. To this end, the rabbi placed much emphasis on the traditional Jewish teachings regarding the time of Moshiach, placing great emphasis in the studying of these concepts. The rabbi also oft repeated the statement of our sages that through doing just one good deed, we can usher in the era of Moshiach. May it be speedily in our days. And then there's more. During a talk in 1991, Schneerson spoke passionately about Mashiach, the Messiah, and told his followers that he had done all that he could to bring world peace and redemption, but that it was now up to them to continue this task. Quote, "I have done my part. From now on, you do all that you can," end quote. A few months later, when a reporter from CNN came to meet him at Dollars, he said, quote, "Mashiach is ready to come now. It is only on our part to do something additional in the realm of goodness and kindness," end quote. Now, during his lifetime, many admirers hoped that he would be revealed as the Messiah. And people pointed to traditional Jewish theology, which teaches that every generation there is one person who is worthy of being the Messiah. And if God deems the time right, he will be revealed by God as such. This is according to J. Emanuel Skochet in a book, The Personality of Mashiach, in 1991. Now, Schneerson constantly objected to any talk that he could be the Messiah, and this sparked controversy among those who were familiar with the traditional teachings. And even this notion that one person is deemed worthy of being Messiah of that generation. When we touch back to the Breitbart story that Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner visit Luba Victor Rebbe's grave, known as Menachem Mendel Schneerson, it becomes very interesting as to what Jared Kushner is thinking and what his theology and worldview is with Hasidic Judaism, influenced by this rabbi. And what makes Jared Kushner's whole Antichrist campaign, if I want to call it that, very interesting and unique is his ties to technology. As we've projected, the Antichrist will have access to high-level tech. What we see is the connection to the tech industry in Israel. And there was a TechCrunch article that was published a couple months back. Trump to create White House Office for American Innovation to be headed by Kushner. The basic idea here was Kushner was going to basically take control of this new Office of American Innovation, and he'll have extensive power to overhaul federal procedures and potentially privatize certain government responsibilities by culling ideas from the business community. So very intrusive in that way in terms of jurisdiction of technology and technology companies, which he just recently is trying to sell WiredScore, the first ever connectivity certification service, which basically is a company that comes into businesses or offices or locations and tests the internet connection power and then assigns them, what level, gold, silver, whatever, and has become basically a standardization mechanism of internet reliability. And this is what corporations do in terms of controlling a marketplace, is becoming a company that assesses other companies and gives them a score, which projects out into the world what level of security or what level of trust they can put in this company. They become the Ministry of Trust, basically. But Kushner's trying to sell this company off, which is interesting. But there's another paragraph here in this TechCrunch article that is pretty alarming. Quote, "The involvement of big tech players," who are included on this board, by the way, Tim Cook, Elon Musk, Mark Bainoff, Bill Gates, and others, becomes more clear when looking at some of the infrastructure initiatives that are potentially in play, according to the Post. They include modernizing the technology and data architectures of every federal department and agency, providing broadband service to all Americans, and re-evaluating workforce training programs. In all of these instances, it's important to highlight that new contracts and potential wholesale privatization of government services may be at stake, and will be headed by the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Back in January 17th, 2017, Google's Schmidt met with Kushner in Republican outreach. And this is where Eric Schmidt, former Google, now Alphabet, said that the biggest surprise of the 2016 election, which was Jared Kushner and his work in the understanding of social media and the technology aspect of it, and having it done on a shoestring budget. And the interesting thing with Eric Schmidt is that he has close ties to Israel as well, quite literally. We reported on his quotes about how Israel is one of the leading tech nations back in 2014 in Age of Deceit 2, Alchemy and the Rise of the Beast Image, and going right in line with that, things continue on here. GeekTime.com reported in an article, Eric Schmidt, Alphabet's executive chairman, worries that the startup nation as worthy competitors talking about Israel. And in this fireside chat, commemorating the 10th anniversary of Google's R&D center in Israel, Schmidt advised Israel saying that, hey, you guys are doing great, but you got to work harder. There are other countries like China coming up that are worthy adversaries in the tech game, and he believes crowdsourcing will be very important. Israeli company Weiss, for example, used crowdsourcing in a particular treatment of the database to do what they do. And this article is ridiculous because you keep reading it and all Eric Schmidt does is push for more and more data collection. The more data you give, the better we can tailor it to you. And he's all about big data. He's all about dumping all of our information into this database. Quote, Schmidt noted that for its size, Israel has a super role in technological innovation, and that Israel's R&D center, which employs more than 500 engineers, has taken over much of Google's cloud infrastructure work. Okay, so if that's the case, then Google is already part of the Zionist machine, which should raise question as to why all these different alt-right community people who have largely shown themselves to be part of the Zionist regime are starting to talk about Google and its censorship of the First Amendment. And while this affects the real independent media folks like me and others like us, the controlled media will still become the main voice. And that's what's happening now with InfoWars and Breitbart and all that stuff. They are creating this conflict to build trust in certain platforms so that they can control the narrative during war. And so tying this back to Kushner, the fact that he has the blessing of Eric Schmidt and the connection here with Google and all that stuff, it's quite remarkable, the potential here of fulfilling all this man of sin stuff. I'm not saying he's the guy, but it certainly seems like, if anything, they're trying to set him up to be the guy. And there's some interesting things to point out here. First off, there's a couple Google buildings in Israel. No secret here. There's one in Tel Aviv. And the thing that's weird though is if you zoom in, you really can't see anything. You see the one building that's Google, but other than that, you can't get any kind of clarity, which is strange for a town. I mean, if you go to the Google Center in my neck of the woods in Orange County, it's crystal clear. Everything there, the roads, all that stuff is very clear, but you can't see anything other than the Google building when you look at the map of Israel, which is very interesting and not surprising. If Israel has control of the cloud system in general, they would want to keep their own nation ambiguous to the rest of the world. And the last thing I'll say about this, which is kind of creepy to tell you the truth, is the fact that, of course, Jared Kushner bought the building, 666 Fifth Avenue. I get it. Everyone's talking about that. But in connection to this Israel thing, we know the black cube as a symbol for Saturn for Satan, and the whole Saturn worship, the Kaaba stone, the black cube being this dark satanic thing. Well, there's somebody that shared with me a website called blackcube.com, which, maybe somebody has covered this already. But look at what this is. Black Cube, a select group of veterans from the Israeli elite intelligence units that specializes in tailored solutions to complex business and litigation challenges. What? And you go to litigations, and it talks about analysis of interests and conflicts, identifying misconduct, and developing leverage. I mean, this stuff is very intrusive stuff that they're talking about, and the fact that they're able to do this is quite remarkable. Now, you can say, Gons, Black Cube, Israeli intelligence, whatever, who cares? Well, go to the contact page and check this out. All their numbers have 666 in them. And it looks like they have 3 different locations, Paris, London, and Tel Aviv. And if you take that Tel Aviv address and look it up on Google Earth, it lands in a spot right next to a giant apartment complex called the Rovalev High Air Complex, which is owned and operated by Global Assets, Real Estate Management and Holdings. And the interesting thing about this place is that it is less than a mile and a half from Google corporate headquarters. And once again, the building is shrouded. You can't really see what's going on. And I'm not saying there's a connection here with this Black Cube company with Jared Kushner directly. There's nothing that I've found that would indicate that. But this whole thing just smells weird, and it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Now, we have the blood of Christ, and we are free from the deception. We're supposed to be. But as this thing becomes clear, I can see, again, how martyrdom might take place. and why the saints are going to be killed in masses. So I hope that makes you think. I'll leave links to all the things here that I've talked about. Do your own research, come to your own conclusions. Again, I'm not stating that he is the man of sin. We don't know that. However, he is a type of Antichrist based on his religious views, and certainly his connection to technology, as well as the talks of him becoming the champion for Middle East peace, make him a great candidate for the Antichrist. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.